Hey there, it's Paulie Joan from Writer's World, and today I wanted to talk to you about fact in fiction. And I want to cover three things here. I want to speak to you about doing research, also consistency, and finally, I want to speak to you about what humans can take, as in introducing new information. So, firstly, let's start with the first of those points, which is doing your research. So I've actually been speaking to an editor recently, and this is what's prompted me to talk about this today. And she was saying how she was having to deal with authors who hadn't done any research, who had worlds where things that basically they had the world on Earth, but the things that were happening weren't what we're familiar with. So this is what I want to speak to you about doing your research. If you're going to introduce concepts into your book, do your research and get the facts right. If it's something that you're choosing to be non-factual, you need to explain why. So if it's a human-based world and you're using humans and it's on Earth and all the laws of, your laws of physics, if all of that stands true and stands to reason, then if you're introducing something that goes against those, you need to explain why. And in regard to doing your research, it's not good enough to make assumptions about something you have no idea about. So particularly, you see this a lot in the medical field. So if you're doing some kind of medical thing in your story, whether it be a wound of some kind, a surgery, whatever it may be, do your research and know if what you're proposing is accurate. Got to get your facts right, because people that know even the slightest thing about it will pick it up. And some people, if they're like, I'm not sure, will Google it and find out. So get your facts right. It's not that hard. Do your research. If you're serious about your book, do your damn research and make sure you've got your facts straight. Next thing I want to talk about is consistency. Get your facts consistent as well. So if somebody was stabbed in a certain part of their body, I'm sorry I'm saying this because I'm a horror writer. If someone's stabbed in a certain part of their body, be consistent with where that stab wound is and how the body would react to it. So, for example, if you've got someone who's cut and you've cut their main artery, or their aorta, then if it's actually cut through that and sliced through it and they don't get immediate attention, they're going to die. So you can't really have them laying there for 2 hours bleeding and then suddenly found and then they're okay. Just as if someone's stabbed in a non-vital part, and obviously do your research to work out where this would not be, then you can't have them dying instantly. Like, for example, a gunshot wound. This is something I had to research recently. A gunshot wound to the head, not necessarily fatal or an automatic death. So even if someone's shot in the head, they're usually going to die from bleeding out unless the bullet stays in their head, as in there's no exit wound. So I bet you didn't know that one. I didn't until I researched it. This is what I mean. Do your research, don't make assumptions. And keep it consistent. So if there is a particular wound, keep it consistent throughout. The other thing about keep it consistent is, for example, if you're on Earth and you've got, just say there's a full moon, for example, then date-wise, time-wise, your next full moon is going to be in 28 days. You can't do the next full moon in 12 days. That doesn't make sense. So keep it consistent with the facts. So the third thing I want to speak to you about is the human brain capacity. And this is fact. This is science that I'm about to deliver for you. The human brain can only take on so much information. So if you're giving new facts, there's only so much that someone can take in before they kind of go, it gets full and they can't take in any more new information. So what that means is that for you to use as much as you can that is factual and real as opposed to fantasy, they're going to be able to take in more information. So that means if you're writing, for example, a fantasy book where there's a lot of different stuff, there's a lot of world building, a lot of new concepts, do it slowly. Don't introduce everything straight away, just a few concepts at a time to allow them to take that in. And then once they know that, they can take it into the next section and learn new information. So that means if you're doing a real world story, okay, and this is where it all kind of links together now. You're doing a real world story on Earth with humans. Can you imagine how much somebody's brain is just going to get overloaded if you've got inconsistent facts, if your facts are not realistic with the laws of physics, the laws of medicine, the laws of whatever, humanity, right? And if you're bombarding them with those, so you've done no research, you're just like, hey, this sounds good, then someone reading that is going to get so filled with this information and go, no, I can't do this. Okay, so keep those three things in mind. Be kind to your reader. You want them to continue reading your book, yeah? So be kind to them. You want the connection. What you're aiming for with your research is to connect people. Give them something that they recognize. If you bombard them with all these new concepts and you don't give them something to recognize, something to hold on to and to connect with, you're just going to drive them further away. So consider that in your research. You want to offer people something that's real and fact-based to connect with them, and therefore do your research, get your facts right. Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Paulie Joan of Writer's World, and I will see you next time. And remember, plan to pants. See you next time.